Hello everybody, welcome to another Army photography competition video. In this series we're going to actually talk to Glyn Dewis, who was one of the judges at last year's competition. We're going to speak to him a little bit about what he did, what he felt was really good, any hints and tips. So before we get started, Glyn, could you just introduce yourself to the guys at home?
Yeah, sure. I guess I come under three titles, I guess: photographer, educator and author. Started out in this whole creative world as a retoucher, working in Photoshop, working for agencies, and then kind of moved in to the photography side of the retouching and the photography side of things together. And kind of that's what I do full time now, really. Before lockdown, I'd have been traveling around different countries around the world at seminars and exhibitions, but also I am a full-time working photographer. Yeah, so that is me in a nutshell, I guess.
Brilliant. Can you talk me through the judging process that you went through last year? What was that like, and what did you have to do?
I'll be honest with you, it was the first time I'd ever done any judging, so I didn't really know what to expect. But it was all very kind of cloak and dagger at first. Because I remember when we first got there, there was three of us doing it. I know Mr. Harmer was one of the judges as well,
Yeah.
and we're kept aside, sat on these sofas while there was a load of tables around in like a square kind of format. And I remember some of your folks coming in and with all the white gloves on, laying all the sort of the prints down for the certain kind of categories. And once they're done, they'd then leave the room and then we'd go up. And the kind of thing we did was all three of us would just kind of like almost bomb burst into different areas around the tables to whatever part you wanted to go to. And I kind of kept my hands behind my back and I'm just scanning through. And the way I kind of do it is I'm pretty much make my mind up really quick. My eyes are naturally drawn to stuff. So it was a case of what I personally thought what I liked, I would put onto a middle table, and so did the other guys as well. And then once we were happy, we then came to the middle table, and then it was a case of coming to a mutual agreement on what we said was going to get put through. But it was a really interesting process, and it was not easy either. Not easy when you want to whittle it down, because I guess it's like your own work. You want to put everything there, but you've got to be kind of brutal in some ways. But yeah, really interesting. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. How did it make you feel being one of the judges? You said that it was the first time you've ever done it before. Did it meet your expectations? How did that make you feel?
I don't know what expectations I had, to be honest with you, Becky. I really went in there blind, not knowing what it was like. The only thing I kind of was going to compare it to was what I'd seen at functions, maybe like the photography show, where you have certain kind of photography organisations doing judging that you can go and watch. And I've never been that keen on the way they were so brutal. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes there are some real brutal things. You've got to sandwich it where there's some good, bad, good points, whoever's going to be putting their images through. But I'll be honest with being asked to do it by you folks, you had me at the word would you, the words would you. I was there. Anything I can do with you folks, I am there. So it was a real privilege. Anytime I can get to spend with you, then bring it on. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And you'll be joining us this year as well, so hopefully this is something that will...
Yeah, I had the good news. I had the email through, so I can't wait. I guess it's going to be done a little bit different, but, the fact that I'm involved with you again, I'm chuffed to bits.
Yeah, we've had to make a few different changes to accommodate the current situation.
Yeah.
But one thing we do want to make clear to everybody is that it's still going to be anonymous judging. Whoever is going to accompany you with the judging process, it still will be anonymous. It's just that we won't be all in one room laying out prints, but very much the same process, just digitally. But yeah, hopefully then after that we can return to actually laying out the prints, because I think that's good for everybody, actually getting hold of those prints.
You can you can't beat actually seeing a print in person. You know what I mean? It's just nothing beats it. It's great digital. I mean, I love digital. We all do, but nothing beats a physical print. So yeah, it would be nice whenever we can get back to doing that.
Definitely. So what was your thought on the standard of entries? You have the amateur categories as well as the professionals. Talk to me about the standard that was there last year.
I guess kind of following what we've already said, I didn't know what to expect. But I must admit, I was quite surprised. And I don't mean that in any kind of like negative way. When I say I was surprised, I'm kind of used to working in an environment of photographers out there in, I guess you call it civvy land, where people have their kind of speciality, don't they? Do you know what I mean? And you're kind of okay at the majority, but there's one thing that you can just tell that people have really got a thing for. But what I noticed with seeing the stuff that I was judging there is it's clear that people have got, they're multi-talented, and I don't mean that to sort of like, make it, woo, aren't you amazing? But it really was kind of like, wow, it's to be that good, consistently good across a whole broad spectrum of different kind of subject matter is quite something. So that was something that really kind of shocked me in a way. So whatever you're doing there, keep doing it. Yeah, really, really, really interesting to see how you can, I mean, we'll talk about your portfolio, I'm sure, at some point. How you can be consistently good across that broad spectrum of subject matter is quite something. So yeah, that's what I kind of took from it.
Brilliant. Did you have a favourite category or a category that stood out throughout the whole of the competition?
Yes, absolutely I did. And it was one that I didn't think I would have, and actually got them written down here. I think the one I really liked came into the telling a story category, the pro telling a story.
Yeah.
Because there was one, and I don't think you had that one, but there was one particular series of pictures. I remember they sort of said, all right, this is where, I don't know, maybe 5 pictures, something like that. And they should all be telling a story, and it should all say kind of army or something like that. And there was one particular series of pictures I saw that I was like, how has that been done? Because to me, I remember it was like photographs of an exercise. It looked like somewhere like Norway or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And each of the pictures in the story to me seemed like, surely they've been lit. Surely that's all been kind of staged and time taken to set everything up. But what I learned afterwards, once we'd finished it and it could be revealed the story behind it all, it wasn't the case. It was done, at the time, grabbing what was there with the kit they had. It blew me away. So I really liked the storytelling side of the actual portfolio pictures that I saw. And I think one of the reasons I really liked it as well was because certainly, and again, I'll say Civiland, but you get so many people telling you that, oh, my pictures tell a story. And there's been so many times I've kind of scratched my head and gone, does it? Do you know what I mean? You kind of can't see the story. They almost have to tell you, oh, the story behind it is this.
Yeah.
Whereas those ones didn't have to do that. You could just see it. So, yeah, I really like that one.
I like the story one. I had, I think it was 2 years ago, I put a story of, went to Kenya, and because I was a medic before I joined the army. To go then to Kenya and work with army medics, and I bumped into a couple of people I knew, to tell that story of what the work that they were doing out there was really quite interesting. And it was nice to see people that had seen me as a medic and had now seen me as a photographer and gone, do you know what, we always knew you were going to do it. It was just a matter of time. When is she going to go and do it, Oh, I love it.
You got a natural flair for it, obviously.
Thank you. If we move on to the portfolio review, so that's the overall winning portfolio. Talk to me about what stood out, why it stood out, and if we could critique each individual image to reiterate.
I've got them loaded up ready. Yeah,
the point of to have a strong portfolio, each image must stand alone on its own, but equally work as a collective. Talk me through that, please.
I'll be honest with you, when we did that particular round of judging for those, for me, it was probably the easiest category. Because, again, I kind of went in there. I'm somebody who makes my mind up really quickly. And when I saw the winning portfolio, which was yours, obviously, I kind of looked at it, and the first one I saw, is it two Glocks that you've got, kind of one on top of the other? Is that what they are, Glocks?
Yeah.
And straight away, I think I said to both guys, I said, my God, I said, that is a magazine shot. That you would expect to see that in a magazine shot. There's absolutely nothing I could change about that. And I think when I saw that your portfolio, and there's a story, I don't know if I told you this as well, but I said, God, I wish they were mine. Do you know what I mean? When you know when there's images in front of you and you say, God, I wish I'd taken them, that's when you know that it's the ones that you really, really like. But I kind of look at your images. The first one I've got on shot here is the 2 guns, which is just, that is not an easy subject matter anyway, being black against black. Do you know what I mean? But you've kind of, the lighting picks out all the detail. There's not one part of it, despite the fact that it's a black gun with a black background, with a little bit of light in that background there as well, Every single bit of detail is there. It's just perfection. I love it. Absolutely love it. The sports one. Go on.
The black on black as well was very much a conscious thing to do.
Right.
I'd seen a tutorial or a video or something on YouTube by a guy called Carl Taylor, and he specialises in photo product photography and all that kind of stuff. That's very much his bag. And he photographed a Bowen's light on a black background and had he had like 50 lights going, and one light would light up this tiny little bit of the branding and things. And I remember watching that video going, oh my God, like he's deliberately gone and photographed black on black. I want to have a go at that because that seems like a challenge. And that is literally where that photograph started from.
Yeah.
I did try it with popping a bit of colour on the background, and it just didn't have the same effect. It very much.
And don't you? When you try it, you go, nah.
Yeah,
you just know what's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
just because you can doesn't mean to say you have to, that kind of saying. But yeah, absolutely bang on. Love it. Really, really love that shot. And I think I did say, that should be in a magazine, that one. That is that kind of quality. It really is. The next one I've got kind of shown up here is it's a sports picture where you're kind of looking straight up and they're kind of in a circle around you.
Oh, yeah, the team one.
Yeah, the team one. I mean, I don't photograph sports, so fair play to you anyway for doing that. This one here, I think the first thing that kind of draws you to it is the colour. The colour, you can't avoid the colours like that. But the fact that you've got everybody in there, it's a relatively simple shot, I guess, but it just works. And the fact that it is very different to the other photos that you've got in the portfolio, it still should be within that portfolio. Do you know what I mean? It's still, everybody's kind of bang on. The expressions are great. It's sharp. The composition's bang on for it. So, yeah. I really like that one. There's nothing much more I could say about that one, but it was just, to me, it just felt like it should be in there anyway. I'm going to move on because it's the one I really like next one as well. This is the one, I love this. This is almost like a screenshot from one of those computer games where the guys and girls are kind of, in the kit coming down the corridor there. I love it. I love the choice of the angle, which is something I don't do that often enough, changing the angle, but it really works here because you can do it right or wrong, and when it's wrong, it's really obviously wrong, but you've got it right. And now I don't know if you've done the color grading to get that, or you've used a bit of a gel maybe on a light, but the atmosphere that creates is absolutely perfect. I love it. It's a really good dramatic picture. Yeah, like that.
There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into that one, I can say.
All right, okay.
Yeah, that was not an easy one to get, but yeah, no, I'm definitely glad I got it. The pain to get that image was definitely worth it for me.
That kind of picture there was a couple on the day that really did stand out. But I remember when I looked at this one here, I kind of said, oh, that because there's a guy I know who's his good friend, a photographer in America called Joe McNally. And he does this kind of editorial, kind of real storytelling kind of pictures. Do you know what I mean? Real good stuff. And I said, that's a Joe McNally picture. And I don't know if you know Joe McNally, Becky, but if you don't, check him out.
No, but I'm going to look at him.
Take that as a compliment because he is one of the world's best. He really is. And that I would, if I saw that in Joe's portfolio, I wouldn't have thought, oh, well, that's nice. I wouldn't have thought it wasn't his. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, brilliant. Yeah, okay, got the basketball. Got the guy with the basketball in his hand there. Is he holding that, or is he just like? Have you caught that mid?
No,
bounce?
I think that's mid bounce. I got quite a few of them to try a few different things. We'd done bouncing, dribbling, some sort of like bounce left to right. We tried all sorts of different things with that. I mean, they naturally are quite tall guys anyway, and but I do remember they were quite. They felt it was quite important, obviously, to make sure that the guys had the male ball and that the girls had the female ball, because I believe the female is slightly smaller.
Right.
But yeah, I'm pretty certain that's mid bounce. It's just that we dimmed all the lights, popped the flash in there, and just trial and error after that.
Yeah, fair play. It's like the other kind of sports one we had with the group going around in a circle there. Straight away you're drawn to it by the red. But then when you think about the technicalities of what you've done there, if that's mid-bounce, then great. Obviously the flash has frozen that moment there. But again, you've got the gent's kind of skin tone there with the dimmed ambient light, and you can see everything, can't you? You can see what you need to see. And you've done that thing with the tilt. You're good at the tilt. So
yeah, I do like
it just works. Yeah, it just works though, doesn't it? It's like I said just a moment ago, that just because you can doesn't mean to say you have to, but you're kind of choosing it at the right times here. I think so many times we kind of learn new things as we go through our kind of photography and retouching career, and we can go through phases where we use it too much and the wrong time. But you're kind of using it right there. I like it. The next one really appeals to me because the retouching kind of background that I have, and I think I remember you talking about this actually, and you said that the choice where you minimised the amount of blood that was on it because before you'd got too much. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'd seen that shot done with the England rugby. It was quite an old image. It was almost like a painting kind of thing. And they'd used a rose, and obviously it was a guy in an England rugby shirt.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I love that. I wanna have a go at that, but a military version. Yeah, we were in the studio and we had this like Halloween blood that was really thick and sticky. And initially we'd done about 3 drops of it, but we all agreed that it was just a bit too gory. So we wiped it all away, started again, and just the 1 drop of blood was enough to have that message and have that sort of feel to it, but not to sort of like be disrespectful to anybody or, you know, go too far. Yeah. So yeah, definitely
the right decision.
Drawing that back,
100%.
absolutely. Yeah, and it was one of those moments as well where before, when we had the 3, you just didn't ever quite be sort of satisfied with it. But when we did it with the 1, it was like we just knew instantly, like that's it. That's it.
I think a lot of times with this kind of stuff, you've got to go with your gut instinct, haven't you? Because people say, "Oh, how far do you go with your retouching? When do you know to stop?" It's your gut instinct that tells you when to do that, really. You know, you go away from something, come back with fresh eyes, and you can see it almost straight away. But also, like what you're saying there is, you have other people there, other eyes on it to give you their opinions, which is, you know, because we don't all know it, and everybody's got something to bring to the table. So if you all agreed on that, then it was definitely the right decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah, less is more, 100% less is more. And then the other one, again, the action shot. You can almost hear the sounds, the bangs, the sound of the tank in the background, the shouting, and that you know when the shot works. When it's that kind of image, you know it works when you can hear that kind of stuff in a still image. And I think the choice of black and white as well, because I guess really, if you'd have had the colour on that, there wouldn't have been that much colour in it really anyway, would there? Do you know what I mean? It would have been the dirt and the camo and
colour. I overlooked that image because obviously as you're viewing your raw, everything is in colour. I did scroll past it several times. It was only when it just dawned on me, I was like, do you know what, I've got nothing to lose, let's turn it black and white. And honestly, like, my mouth just dropped. I was like, this is a totally different image in black and white.
Absolutely,
And that's how it ended up there, yeah.
Really great contrast and everything. Yeah, definitely the right decision. So, you know, again, it shows there why you're a worthy winner of the portfolio, because you can judge when an image is worthy of being black and white or when it's worthy of being colour. Because as we all know, that not every image can work in black and white. And that really does work. So, you know, hats off to you. Did I tell you the story about how we kind of got to the the final bit of the judging with the portfolio thing?
You did. Remind me though.
I'm going to remind you anyway then, because what happened was, I remember, I think there was maybe 3 kind of portfolios that we had. I'd originally chosen your colour one as the main one. And then the other gents, Mr. Harmon, what have you, they kind of said, definitely the black and white, because you had 2 portfolios in there, if I remember rightly. Yeah. You had a black and white portfolio as well. We didn't know it was yours. And then there was another one. So we've eventually agreed to get rid of the other one and then leaving these 2, black colour portfolio, black and white portfolio. And I said, this is difficult. I like them both. And we're all like, yeah, I know. Obviously, Mr. Harmon kind of knew. In a way, I guess. He's kind of going, yeah, right, okay. I said, he said, well, what do you think? I said, I'm going to go for the colour because it shows a real variety, whereas, I love them both, but let's go for the colour. And then I found out, immediately I said that, he goes, oh, good. He says, because funny enough, it's both the same photographer. He's like, what? Unbelievable. the fact that I thought it was just amazing that the two final ones we had to decide on were both yours. So, yeah, very, very good. Yeah, that was real. Yeah, a good ending to it. That was, I thought. So,
last bit about the portfolio. Can you just talk to me? I'm sure people are going to be interested. Each image is great as it is, but what is it about them images that work as a body of work? Why do you think that portfolio works together rather than just 6 individual images?
well, they do work as obviously individual images, but I think with the way that you folks work with it being a pro portfolio, and obviously for your kind of what you do, the pro status means that you are consistent across a load of different areas, because you're going to get thrust into all kinds of environments, and you've got to be able to come up with the goods, haven't you? So when it comes to the images that were in your winning portfolio, like I say, alone they stand up absolutely, but as a collection of images, it basically says I could see this is the same photographer, and this photographer is consistently high standard in all these different areas, and that is really important. I think it's important, obviously, that the consistency and the standard, but also I think it's important that there is a recognisable stamp on those images as being from the same photographer, because I know that when I kind of first started out, I don't really know what I was kind of doing, and I was all over the place. A bit of a loose cannon when it came to photographing all kinds of things. And let's say if I had 10 images in my portfolio, they could have quite easily been from 10 different photographers, because there was no consistency in anything. Those ones, there was a consistency. So that's why it kind of stood out, head and shoulders above the others, really.
Have you got any examples of how people could help make their work consistent? Because I guess there'll be a lot of people out there that, in fact, I was like this. When I first got into the trade, I wanted to run before I could walk, and I was told many times, your style will come, and I was like, yeah, but I want it now, and I don't even really remember the point at which it was like, oh, this is my style. I didn't even notice it. It was just, as you put your work together, for me, luckily, it was just there. But if people are wanting to develop their style, have you got any tips that might help people in that?
Yeah, Becky, it's something I talk about a lot whenever I'm at events and stuff. I always get asked about it. How do you get your own style? Because let's face it, we spend a lot of time and we spend a lot of money invested in what we do. What we don't want to do is have all that kit and all that knowledge and still be the same as everybody else. So the style is a huge thing. But you're quite right. Whoever was it said to you that your style will come. That's exactly it. You can't force it. But the way that I can only talk about my own experience when it came to developing my own style, and that came from consistency. You can't pick up a camera every now and again and do a bit of retouching every now and again and expect to get a style. It's got to be something that you are constantly doing again and again and again. But then what do you do again and again and again? I always say to people, look, go out there and copy. And that's the word copy in the photography world especially is almost like blasphemy. Do you know what I mean? No, you can't do that. But let's face it, if you haven't got a starting point, how are you supposed to develop?
Yeah.
So I always say to people, look, find a photographer whose work you absolutely love, pick an image, reverse engineer it. How have they done it? And then try to replicate it. Because no matter how hard you try to replicate it, you never will.
Yeah.
There'll always be something about it that makes it yours, because we're all different. Different likes, tastes, dislikes, upbringings, all that influences what we do. And a kind of an example I give is, let's say if I was teaching a group of you folks, maybe Photoshop, maybe we're going through some stuff, and you had the same file as me on your computers, and I said, right, everybody, do this, and do this, and then you all do it. And then I say, right, now go to the filter menu, choose on-sharp mask, and take the amount to 15 and the threshold to 10. And then you'll do it, and you're not being kind of belligerent or digging your heels in, but you'll kind of go, actually, Glyn said 15, I prefer 10. Now, that's just because inside of you, something is telling you, I prefer this. And that's good. Do you know what I mean? So if you want your own style, you go out there, you practice, copy stuff, and just keep doing it again and again and again. And eventually, people will tell you you've got a style. You won't know it, but other people will. It's like when you try to lose weight or gain muscle if you're training. Your partner doesn't see it because they see you day in, day out. But then you see somebody who's not seen you for a month and go, flipping heck, you've lost some weight.
Yeah.
It's the same with your style. They'll just see your images and go, I like that. And the goal should always be that if people kind of know your kind of work, you should go and do a brand new image, not show them. And then you have a table full of other people's work and you kind of rustle it all up and plonk your picture somewhere amongst it. And then get somebody to come along to look at that table who knows your kind of stuff. And if they can pick out your picture, you've got a style.
I
So
think,
it is all about consistency.
Yeah. I liked what you said before about the copying, how there's a bit of a taboo and, you know, you shouldn't do it. But that's absolutely what I do. Like, before I even joined the army, I was looking at the different photography magazines and I was watching, like, you know, you had the people that submitted their work and they were dropping strawberries into water and it was splashing and all that. And I think it's important for people to go through that process, and it might be a cliche idea that has been done thousands and thousands of times, but if that person hasn't done it before, I think it is important to encourage them to go and explore those ideas that have been done many times before, because you learn from it.
Yeah. And it's not a case of, you know, choosing somebody's idea and copying it and then going, oh, look what I've done. It's not all about that. Do you know what I mean? More than anything, you just say, look, here's a picture I've done. The influence came from this. So I've always been a big believer that if you get influence or inspiration from somebody else, always give them a shout out. If you learn a technique from somebody else, give them a shout out. Don't try to kind of take it all as, oh, look what I've done.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of humility goes a long way. So if you kind of say that I got this inspiration from this image, share it. But then if you have done that, if you've copied an image, but then there is a little twist that you've added for you, then that can go in your portfolio. But if it is a direct attempt at copying an image, don't put it in your portfolio. There has to be something about it that's still yours for it to be worthy of being in your portfolio. So, I'm a huge believer in copying, always have been. Always have been.
It's a form of flattery.
Moving on, is there anything particular that you would like to see from this year's entries? Anything that you're looking forward to? Anything that you're thinking looking forward?
It's going to be such a simple answer. More of the same, please, because I really enjoyed it. You know, it's like I said, it's my first experience doing it. I learned a lot from doing it. It gave me, I came away motivated. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to get my camera out and get retouching, because it really did make me want to get up and do something. But just more of the same. It was a pleasure to look through the images. It really was.
And finally, just to finish off, is there any hints or tips or anything that you want to say to anybody that might be watching this that perhaps is thinking of entering the competition, amateur or professional? Is there anything that you'd want to say to them?
I guess first of all, I'd say do it, because I think you probably agree with this, is that when you do enter into something like this, the amount you can learn from it, from the feedback from your peers and stuff like that, is invaluable. So definitely go for it. But I guess also, and this goes for just some of the portfolios or some of the selection of images that we saw on the day, was take your time. Don't just kind of think, oh, I need to have maybe 5 images. Oh, I'll put that one in there. Because there was some real kind of surprises where you saw a series of images and then there was one which was a real curveball. You think, what on earth is that doing in there? Do you know what I mean? They've clearly not spoken to somebody else. So don't rush it. Speak to your peers, your colleagues, your friends who are kind of in that world as well with their fresh eyes. Say, look, do you think this series of images here goes together or not? Because they will tell you, and a real friend won't let you do it. Somebody else, if it's somebody really close to you, they're going to love everything you do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to take a picture with your phone. Oh, that's amazing. But if you speak to people like your colleagues, your peers, they'll be honest with you. So definitely take the advice and don't think that you know it all, because you never will. So.
No, I think that's a valid point. I was pestering everybody with mine. And I think when you get to the point where perhaps, and because it does happen, people will give you conflicting opinions. So one person loves an image and the other person hates it. When you get to that point, because it did happen with me with the black and white portfolio, you then have to resort back to your gut feeling. And if your gut is telling you, do you know what, I like it, then stick with it. I think there's nothing worse than submitting something because somebody else told you, yeah, but that's more likely to win, and your gut is telling you something else. you've got to go with it. You really do have to go with your gut. There's
absolutely. The book always stops with you.
Yeah.
The book has to stop with you, because what you don't want to do is end up taking the advice, even if you kind of think, oh, I don't know. That goes in, you don't maybe get placed where you want to get placed, and then you're always going to go, I knew that.
Yeah.
See, you gave me the wrong. And you don't want that kind of situation. So ultimately, get the advice, but you're the you're the one who wants to be the pro here. Obviously, you are now, but the one who wants to be the pro, you've got the onus is on you to be the final decision maker.
Yeah, I think what I'll add to that is particularly for because I know the pros do it anyway. But yeah, to anybody watching this right now that's thinking about entering the amateur category, by all means get in touch. We're quite happy to take some time aside and go through the amateur stuff, because if they haven't entered it before, or perhaps they have entered several years and haven't really been successful, if they want to get in touch, they can get in touch with any of the Army photographers, and I'm sure anybody would be willing to help and sort of give their opinion. But it very much is that, it's an opinion. Photography as a whole is subjective, but we're more than happy to sort of guide people and offer advice. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So Glyn, thank you very much for your time. That's really been a big help. Hopefully the guys at home can take something away from that. So thank you very much.
No, you are more than welcome. But one thing I was going to ask you, I mentioned my little nephew earlier on. He's not so little now, actually, but he's doing photography, GCSE. I think he's in his first year.
Oh, right.
If I remember rightly, he can enter. How can he enter? And I promise I won't help him too much.
Okay, so for anybody that's thinking of entering the Army photographic competition, they need to head to the website, and on the British Army website there will be an entry form, one for the professionals and one for the amateurs. And there'll also be a terms of entry, and basically the terms of entry will outline the categories that people can enter, how they can enter, the email that they need to enter it to, the deadlines, all the information that they require, and how they can get in contact with us is all there on the British Army website. If anybody is stuck, they can head to the email address. They're more than welcome to contact anybody of the team. And we can help them through. But there's lots of amateur categories that people can enter that we've had last year. There's also an amateur video category. So whether you like photography or videography, whether you've got a camera, whether you've got an iPhone, doesn't matter. If you like doing it, enter. It's totally free. And if you do win, you're going to get some prizes at the end anyway. So it's win-win, I reckon.
Right. I will let him know, but he might have a pseudonym. Who knows? No, thank you very much, Becky.
Cheers, thank you.